My name is Donald Igwegbu. I'm 42 and I'm a Nigerian. I come here today to address the press of the Federal Republic of Nigeria about my intention to vie for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2019 under the platform of the Young Progressive Party, if I pick the party nomination. I come here today understanding the enormity of the problems facing us as a people in Nigeria. I come here today knowing that there is nothing we cannot achieve together as one people if we jettison division among us as a people, if we embrace the doctrines of patriotism, love, mutual tolerance, and sacrifice. These are the things that have been lacking in the polity. So, my great party, the Young Progressive Party, and myself, when we get elected, will ensure that we urge Nigerians to summon a new spirit of patriotism, a new spirit of responsibility, and a new spirit of service, in order that we will all together as one people fix our country for the benefit of everyone. Citizenship is one area I want to address as president when I get elected. A situation where we continue to divide ourselves along ethnic lines, tribal lines, state of origin, religious divisions, in my view, is not acceptable. I want a situation where we get, once you say you are Nigerian, that's all you need. You don't need to say you are from any state. You don't need to say your religious inclination. So, hopefully, as your president, I will move a motion to expunge the issue of state of origin and religion from all national records, so that together we will fall and rise as one people. In the area of education, I believe government has allowed education to go so bad, so dilapidated, that education in Nigeria is becoming questionable, especially public education. The business of private schools is beginning to kill our public educational sector. Now, we don't have any problem with people who want to run private schools, but government must live up to expectation to ensure that the public schools in Nigeria are fit for purpose. So we are going to look into education in terms of what can you do once you come out from a school. We focus on both semi-skilled education and skilled education. People who want to be professionals, engineers, doctors, lawyers, can go through the normal university. But I believe that we should grow our vocational institutions as a nation. So we begin to have semi-skilled people who are better qualified to serve us as welders, as mechanics, as electricians, as carpenters, you name it all. These are the day-to-day requirements. These are the day-to-day services that Nigerians need people to fill in the gaps. But in doing that, we will ensure that these ones pass through an accredited institution or accredited institution all over Nigeria, where they will be tutored on these areas. So vocational education is going to be key in our government once we get elected. So we are going to look at unemployment in Nigeria. But in dealing with unemployment, we are looking at employability and unemployment. Today, unemployment rate in Nigeria stands about 18.8%, with 61% youth unemployment in Nigeria. This is not acceptable going forward as a nation. As a people, we are blessed with enormous resources, solid and liquid minerals. Since 1960, the federal government of Nigeria has earned over $1.3 trillion from crude oil sales alone. Where is this money? We have not invested it in anything that will create employment opportunities for our people. We have not saved this money either. Can you imagine what would have happened if we introduced at least a 10% savings culture since 1960? you would have been looking at least $130 billion today. Added 5% interest rate annually, APR. You'll be looking at figures nearly $200-something billion in savings for the generations yet to born. But the habit of blowing up all we have earned in real time is not going to be sustainable post-crude oil era. So in looking at unemployment, we are going to take very strong and tough measures. Government must stand for what is right. Government must realize that the oil which we are all enjoying today is a resource that finishes over time. So in understanding that, we need to develop an action plan post-crude oil era, how we are going to retain our nation as a viable one in the Committee of All Nations. So in looking at employment, there are a number of areas I'm going to focus on, we are going to focus on when we get into office. For example, the Nigerian automobile industry. We all know that the Nigerian automobile industry is virtually non-existent, apart from the likes of innocent cars, maybe Peugeot Automobile Nigeria that needs very serious intervention. I don't know that company in Nigeria that manufactures cars. Government has a habit of importing and using cars that are manufactured in overseas. Foreign manufactured vehicle, luxurious vehicle, selling Nigerian jobs to overseas, denying our people the opportunity to be employed in Nigeria. That habit where we embrace luxury in government rather than focusing on those policies that will guarantee jobs for our suffering youth will stop henceforth. So as president, once I get elected, I will make it a policy that every government employee, be it elected or appointed, must use made in Nigerian car going forward. And that will mean that we will no longer buy any car that is not manufactured in Nigeria. Government must do what is right. It is not enough to profess that we're going to create 5 million jobs per annum when we have not given the opportunity and the platform for such a thing to manifest. So unemployment is one area that Nigerians need to address very holistically. But I identify that part of the problems we have that have led to the issue of unemployment in Nigeria is the issue of corruption. Corruption has eaten so deep in the fabrics of our country that something has to be done, and very urgently for that matter. The hyper-corruption in Nigeria today needs that we take the issue of transparency to extreme level. Transparency is important in order that we can curb the issue of corruption in Nigeria. So it's very important we understand that as government, we are going to show transparency and implement it to the highest level possible in order that our transparency perception index in the globe with the Transparency International will shoot up very rapidly within a very short time. So we're going to embrace things like e-governance. E-governance is a situation whereby we will embrace the IT and make sure that some of the activities we do in government are published online. Government is going to invest in IT portals where we are going to publish some of the contracts, some of the businesses, some of the engagements the federal government of Nigeria will get involved with the public and third-party business people, such that Nigerians will no longer be kept in opaqueness. There has to be transparency of everything we do in this country in order to assure Nigerians that we are accountable to them. So days are gone when you get a contract, Nigerians will not know the contract sum, we will not know who is doing it, we will not know the specification, we will not know the deliverable. We cannot continue like this as a nation. So the IT infrastructure we are going to invest in, the IT portal, will ensure that we capture some of these things to keep our people abreast with the development and how their monies are being expected in real time. So transparency is very important in our fight to curb corruption. So we are going to use institutional reforms to make sure that we reduce corruption in Nigeria to as low as reasonably practicable. Look at the Federal Civil Service, for instance. Too much bureaucracy to process a document takes forever. So we cannot continue like this as a people, as a nation. So we're going to introduce holistic reforms in Nigeria's Federal Civil Service. There is what they call service level assessments, where you have undertaken between the Federal Civil Service and the Nigerian people about setting deliverable timeline on anything they get involved with, as long as it's something that government is committed to doing. Take, for instance, your international passport. We have seen situations where Nigerians pay for international passports, then suddenly we hear that the immigration service have no booklets to give them. They have made payments, but no booklets to give them. It's down to mismanagement. It's down to our attitude of doing things, and that has to stop going forward. We have a situation where people want to process driver's license, want to process car registration, documentation, but it takes forever because there is no stipulated level process agreements between the Federal Civil Service and the Nigerian people. So we are going to look into that very holistically. We are going to ensure that we embrace merit-based promotion in the Federal Civil Service. So if you're doing well as a civil servant, the system we are going to introduce will be so transparent that never again will even your boss undermine your capability as a true Nigerian that is working hard to make sure that things work very well. We're going to also look at the issue of police reform. I believe that police is one of the best professions anyone can engage with. In the diaspora, the police is a very highly respected profession. So we need to reform the Nigerian police force. But in reforming them, the administration we are going to form will first of all begin by changing the name from Nigerian Police Force to Nigerian Police Service. We believe that police should be offering service to Nigeria rather than using any form of force to, deliver their services. If we need any kind of force as a nation, then we can engage our military to guard us against any external threat. So in renaming the Nigerian police to Nigerian Police Service, I believe that we will look into their remunerations, their salary package. We make sure that the police are well paid. We make sure that the police are well trained. We make sure that our police are well equipped. But we are not going to allow our police become glorified guards in the hands of politicians and rich men. We are going to restore the integrity of Nigerian police force, even as I personally believe in state police. But I believe that in agreeing to state police, we need to involve every stakeholder in Nigeria, the National Assembly, and everyone need to sit on board and we decide whether we will go in the line of state police. But I believe that state police is important for us to begin to enforce some of our local laws across the Federation. We have state judiciary, we have state legislative councils. I believe that state police will help these two arms of government to enforce the laws, because laws are meaningless if you don't have the ability to enforce them. The instrument to enforce laws as enacted by the legislative arm of government and interpreted by the judiciary lies with the executive, and police is a very vital organ of the executive that will help them to ensure that laws are upheld without any iota of pressure, intervention from the federal government, while we still retain certain components of the Nigerian Police Service, the DSS, to act like our own FBI in matters of federal government. So it's one area we are going to look very, very holistically. The issue of electricity is one area that Nigerians are really, really looking forward to a president that is competent, that is capable, that understands all the issues along the electricity generation value chain. This party, the Young Progressive Party, and myself as a presidential candidate and hopefully the presidential nominee, if we become elected, we promise Nigerians that the issue of epileptic electricity supply will become a thing of the past. We understand the issues. We know that to be able to give Nigerians electricity, we must introduce confidence in the electricity generation value chain. So our philosophy in electricity is on minimizing waste and maximizing generation. And in doing that, we are going to get Nigerians to only pay for the electricity that they use. Only pay for the electricity they use. There is too much wastage of electricity in our country, even as some people don't pay for the electricity they use. So we need to return confidence in the value chain. Investors need to come on board, ask questions. If I put $500 million in our electricity generation business. How do I recoup my money? Now, a lot of people are under the illusion that we cannot get gas to our thermal stations. I believe the issue of gas shortage to our thermal stations to drive our electricity has to do with the federal government sitting down with the operators and the oil and gas producers to determine the right pricing for our gas. We have a situation as a country where we have built liquefied natural gas in Bonny River State. It tells you that we have enough gas generated, produced every day. But these operators have deemed it more commercially viable to convert this produced gas from gaseous state to liquefied state and then bulk ship it to overseas where the market value for these gases have been established. So until we establish the market value, the commercial value of gas for its local consumption for electricity, we are always going to have issues with the operators supplying us enough gas to run our turbine as a country.